Hey everyone, and welcome back to segment number 2 of the Broad Podcaster. I'm Jennifer Fierro. This guy is Art Dlugach, the voice of the Llano Yellow Jackets. And now we are going to talk about Llano after we spent the first segment talking about the Art Dlugach who finished up their final scrimmage against Gerald on Thursday. I'm going to turn it over to you. What do you want to say about Llano?
Well, it was an absolute rout against an overmatched and smaller Brady team. The school is smaller than Llano's last night for the Jackets in their second and final scrimmage. 7 touchdowns for Llano, 0 for Brady, 8 sacks for the Jackets unofficially. For the defense, it was outstanding. And so it was just a perfect night. As I mentioned in the first segment, Llano played controlled scrimmage, 15 plays or so for each offense. They go back and forth. And then there were the quarters. Well, Llano won the controlled scrimmage, 3 TDs to 0. Then in 2 quarters of the live, they call it the live portion or a real game, the clock's running, Llano scored 4 times to win that 27-0. And the second quarter did not go the full 12 minutes. Coach Easterwood and Brady had decided they pretty much had enough. Matt Green was very humble about that they didn't want to play anymore. He certainly understood and talked about that on Facebook. And you'll read more about that in the Llano News with Jennifer's report. But anyway, so it was 18 minutes and Llano scored 4 times. So but the one individual who was just unbelievable was Miguel Hernandez. Last year, he ran for about 680 yards. He's listed as a fullback, but he's not that big, I'll guarantee you that, to be listed as a fullback. Carson Kirkendall didn't play that much, but scored 3 touchdowns. But Miguel ended the night on a 68-yard run. He may very well have run for 200 yards. I'm sure that they keep those stats even for scrimmages. So he was just great. Briggs Green at quarterback threw for 1 TD and ran for another. Briggs is really stronger with the running game than he is with his arm, and he is really tough to bring down. I'll tell you, if he can't find somebody, then he's going to run. And you know what? He can throw that ball a mile, and sometimes it's about a yard too far. It's a mile and a yard, and it should have been just a mile. But he really can throw it, and Bryce Mize can throw well. Don't know who will start. I could guess, but I'm not going to get into that and get in trouble again. Please come to go to Gerald if you can, or listen on KITY Radio Friday night, August 26th, for the that opener. And yes, I do become the voice of the Jackets again, finally.
The best play-by-play voice in Central Texas right here.
Well, nice of you to say, but there are some good ones. And when you love it as much as play-by-play people do, then you can really succeed. And Jennifer's been in the booth many times for many games herself. All right, let's get to some of these names. The offensive line, coached by Richard Katner, Daniel Sandoval, Hudson Godfrey, Juice Lang, Ross Edwards, Brandon Green, and Dylan Kennedy. Dylan, the twin of Fitz. And so when you score that many times, 7 times, you know the offensive line is performing. So congratulations to them. The defense, as I mentioned, 8 sacks, 1 pick by Ulysses Martinez, who has seen a lot of action in a couple of games, a backup running back and maybe a return man. He has seen action in these 2 scrimmages. Talking about the defense, I know that I'll leave out 1 or 2, but a lot of these names you know. Jackson Ray, the former linebacker at defensive end, and the 2 linebackers that are still there, Ricky Delatorre and Hayden Manahan, maybe the best defensive player in the district he was last year. A couple of others in the secondary. Briggs Green played at safety. He played that all last year, but Coach Green, I think, only really wants him to play quarterback. I doubt you'll see him at safety, but that'll be something to watch on Friday night at Gerald. Isaiah Bush, Jackson Dillard, worth mentioning. Fitz Kennedy, the twin of Dylan, he is really a tough son of a gun. And both are fine basketball players, too. Cole Franklin with one of those stand-up tackles that I mentioned earlier that Burnett produced. And then Brock Fly, Cal Gilliland, Caden Ballman, and Parker Parrish deserve mention. So if I've left out somebody, I apologize. I will mention on these touchdowns again, Carson didn't run that much but scored 3 times. Kelso got open, Coy Kelso got open on the far sideline with the sun actually in his face and got free and turned that into a 63-yard reception for a TD from Briggs. So, and Remington Hill scored a TD. I just love the kid. Met him in cross country 2 or 3 years ago, and I'll tell you what, he just loves sports no matter what it is. So it was just nearly a perfect night. Congratulations to Coach Matt Anastasio, the defensive coordinator. Joe Downey is coaching the outside linebackers. There's also Todd Doucette and Bo Burnett are the defensive secondary coaches. That's redundant to say defensive. So that's pretty much the coaching staff there. And I mentioned Coach Katner and Coach Green and Coach Ryan Preem, the offensive coordinator and assistant head coach. You should hear him in the booth. Boy, does he scream a lot during the game. I accuse him of sleeping when the offense is not on the field, and he doesn't like that too much, but that's okay. All right, so Llano goes into this year having won 8 games last season, 13 the year before. Coach Green has won 40 times and lost 20 in the 5 years he's been head coach in Llano, and he needs 4 wins to pass David Yeager as the winningest coach in Llano history. And wouldn't that be something? They better win a lot more than 4, I'll tell you. But, you know, he's just had a fine career, 13-1 2 years ago and got to the state semis and then beaten by the very good Hallettsville team. No question about that. So he was totally pumped last night after the game, as you can imagine. And Coach Anastasio, he likes to get tough with those kids sometime. And his remarks were, you guys had better show up for first period on Friday morning or you will pay for it if you don't.
Yeah, they have first period athletics, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the reason for that, Burnett does the same thing, Marble Falls does the same thing, is because I'm sure that they lifted this morning and reviewed film from last night's scrimmage. They are definitely trying to utilize every second of this morning's gathering to get ready for next week, to give the boys Saturday and Sunday off so that when everybody walks in on Monday, they go right into their game week preparation.
Can you imagine, though, I was watching the kids after the game, and, you know, of course, it's very hot there on the field in August in Texas. It is, obviously, across the state, other states, too. But to think that you play a rough and tumble game, it's all tackle. It's no 7-on-7, these scrimmages. And then you've got to get up the next morning and lift. My goodness, I don't know. It's just amazing what they do. They're involved in other sports too, other extracurricular activities, and a lot of the kids are, and they still are passing their tests that the teachers give them, and it impresses me a lot.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with my pal over here. The reason that they lift, especially the day after, is to get rid of the soreness and the acid that built up from full contact the night before during a ball game.
I told you I'd never played.
Yeah, it's very, very good for the body. It helps also prevent injury. So I am a big proponent of it. There are other things I'm a big proponent of. That's at the top of the list. And one of the things that I am very happy to see is that every athlete now, no matter the sport or the gender, participates in weightlifting sessions of some sort.
Oh, weightlifting.
For the benefits.
Weightlifting now called powerlifting for some reason. has been popular, I guess, popularized 20, 25, or 30 years ago. And Coach Green has mentioned Art Briles at Stephenville for being one of the first coaches to encourage the boys. Encourage is not exactly the right word, is to require lifting during the week of the game. And no question, in a sport like football, and it helps in the other sports too, it's really necessary.
Did you see any weakness in your Yellow Jackets last night?
Gosh, hard for me to say. You know, you said that Coach Herman and Wood like to say that we've got things to work on. No, not at all. I would only say that in fairness, Brady is certainly not the toughest team that Llano will play this season, and beginning with Gerald, and then there's Burnett, Crockett. Llano will be a big favorite. Coleman had a real good season last year, and that will wrap up the non-district games. So that was part of it. There's always, but still, you've got to come out there, and when you score 7 or 8 touchdowns and hold the other team to 0, then you know that they really lit it up on both sides of the ball.
Well, Brady and Llano consider each other rivals, correct?
Yes,
and
on and off.
And that's where I give the coaches credit for scheduling at least a scrimmage. I would hope it was well attended by both fan bases last night. I would hope. I don't know if Brady traveled last night or not.
Well, those poor Brady people and all the visitors around the state have to sit with the sun right in their eyes.
Yes.
Brady didn't have a great crowd, but that's all right. It's about an hour's drive between the two schools, and they really should play, as you say, during the season, and they have quite a bit before. And so that is a good rivalry. None bigger than Burnett. And I'll tell you, 2 weeks in advance, you get there early, I'll guarantee you that'll be some kind of crowd. Burnett will show up well, especially if it wins its opener against Lavernia, and Llano they could very well pack the home side. That's just going to be a fun night. Llano has not beaten Burnett since 1998, my first year of broadcasting. They've not played every year since, but I'd say 10 or 11 times they have played, and Burnett has won them all. So it's a lot riding on that game. I got to tell you one more thing. I text Coach Green, and I said that the Las Vegas odds are that you're going to win by 6 TDs tonight. This was yesterday afternoon. Of course, I was kidding. I don't think Las Vegas knows who Llano and Brady are or where they are. And then Coach Green texted me back. He said that Brady was higher in the power rankings than Llano is. I don't know whether he was kidding or not. They certainly were not higher on the scale of winning or losing. They weren't losing. They weren't higher last night than Llano was on the field turf. It was just a great night, and we hope there are a lot more.
Okay. We're going to close this segment out. I think we're going to do some Major League Baseball. There was a local kid who actually made his debut on Wednesday night. We're going to talk about that. Remember, go to TexasChalkTalk.com for all of your news stories or sports stories about the Highland Lakes. And please make sure you like, subscribe, and share the channel.